Creating beyond calculation, beyond politics, and beyond the big two. Welcome, Silverliners, to the wonderful world of Wednesday Wham. I'm your host, Dean Zachary. I'm joined tonight by the paragon of pencils, Rob Davis, the Empress of the Inks, Barbara J. Kailberg, and both wizards of wordplay tonight. We are fortunate to have both Scott Wakefield and Rory Boyle. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hey, Dean.
Wunderbar.
Great.
Good. We're going to talk about team-ups tonight. We're going to focus mainly on Silverline characters and Silverline titles, and we're also going to be informed by what we like about mainstream team-ups that then can be transferred over to Silverline books. When you first think of team-ups, Scott, what do you think when in terms of mainstream team-ups? Just the first two superheroes or titles that come to mind?
Well, you got the team-ups. I don't know about you. I'm gonna have the Batmans and Robins and so forth.
Sure.
Is that what we're talking about?
Well, no,
we're talking. Yeah. So that's what
not so much sidekick. This
right.
would be two leading.
So
characters from separate titles.
Of course, mainstream. We've got the Marvel world, and especially with the movies.
Yes.
I mean, that's just that one big team up that just kept growing and growing, and then splintered, and then grew. And I don't want to belabor the MCU, and that's a discussion we may get into later in this. But I loved it, and then now I don't love it. So I like it less. So, but they I think for the movies they did really, really well, and they picked from great moments in the comic book world, and they even picked some iconic. I loved Civil War, or Captain America 2 and Civil War, which was really just what was Captain America Civil War was really just Avengers 3.5, right? Is that right?
Yeah, more or less.
But the scene with Cap and
Tony Stark,
Iron Man, and Bucky, when that fight, when they're just it's a team up that fell apart. That they did really well.
Were there any books, comic books that had two characters that teamed up that you always like? Wow, I got to pick that up. Were there anything like that?
I'm a cliche, you know that. I'm gonna say
a walking anachronism.
Iron Man and War Machine, whenever they were together.
See, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
And then when War Machine was on the cover for a while, it was a good one.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna talk to everyone here. Barbara, what about you? When you first think, a team up, two characters. For the discussion now, we'll keep it within one company. So, what comes to mind?
Well, the quintessential is Superman and Batman.
Right.
Yeah.
But also known as World's Finest. What did you like about that? Why did that work so well for so many years?
Because you got the anti-hero in Batman and the perfect little Eagle Scout in Superman, and they clash. Like they clash like Captain America and Tony Stark, So you've got the good boy and the golden boy and the anti-hero bad boy. So that's always an interesting, because they clash off. They're like oil and water, but in a fascinating way.
Yeah, and how they solve whatever problem is always interesting, because
it depends on what era you're talking about too. I mean, in the 50s, it was they were both
buddy buddies.
Essentially. Yeah, they were essentially boys. Both of them were Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts, yeah.
We're talking 60s, 70s. Then we got a little more. There was a little more oil and water with the two of them. Yeah.
What about you, Rob? It doesn't have to be Batman, Superman.
The one that comes immediately to my mind is Green Lantern, Green Arrow, because that was, I'm going, why did they put these two guys together? Is it just because they both have green in their name?
They could have put green
because they were
that'd
have been good. They were completely different characters.
Yes.
I mean, different types of characters, and especially the way Oliver Queen was. It was essentially a liberal. Put in with a test pilot who's going to be more than likely is going to be pretty conservative.
Sure.
So that's kind of an oil and water things, but they seem to get along pretty well. So plus Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, holy cow!
What a team!
You can't
right?
do much better than those guys. So that's the one that immediately comes to mind. And of course, Batman, Superman, and again, it's the different eras. It depends on what you like. I liked all of the interpretations of them. I think originally when they did them the first time in World's Finest, I don't think they were in the same story together. I think they were just
in the same book.
They were in the same book, but they weren't actually interacting at that point. But I think that happened later on. But yeah, that's the one that comes immediately to my mind is the two green characters at DC.
The two green characters. That's interesting. Rory, what about you? More words from the Wizards of Wordplay here. What comes to mind for you? With
I love
team up?
the Batman and John Constantine team up.
I
think it's very complimentary.
That's brings out a
Just
different aspect of Batman, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah.
I mean, seriously, yeah.
Yeah, he's so calculating, but there's always that supernatural bit to Batman as well. The Ra's al Ghul, and there's a very heavy supernatural component to it, even though he's very cold, calculating, detective-like. But then Constantine has to be as well. He's got to be detective-like too.
He really does. Now, do you think that works because they're more alike or because of their differences? Speak to that for a moment.
Ooh. I think it works because they're both dark, and I think it's because they're more similar than they are different.
Okay.
They're both driven by demons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I would suggest that Batman's moral compass may be a little more firm than John Constantine. John Constantine tends to be more of a pragmatist of whatever saves his bacon.
He's Machiavellian in his
very much
outlook on how to solve things.
If you want to talk about absolute opposite ends of the compass, there's Deadpool and Cable.
Another good call. That's a very that was in the list of most popular.
Lawful good, chaotic neutral.
Yes, if we want to use D&D, of course.
Cable is absolutely humorless and grim and
very paladin.
Deadpool's a comedian. Deadpool's a vulgar comedian, especially in the movies, right?
Yes.
Oh God.
So those two are about as opposite ends as you can possibly get.
Can you imagine Deadpool in a movie with RDJ as Iron Man? I mean, it would just be quip fest, quip war, right? It would just be like, who can out-quip each other and out-humor each other? It's fun. You were going to say something, Scott. Sorry.
No, I wasn't. I was. Well, actually, I was
going to say something now.
I will. Rory said something about them being similar, and we've talked about this when we talk about sidekicks as well. How that's kind of the sidekick often offers someone, first of all, for the main character to talk to. It's difficult to leave a character alone in any sort of work. Comic books are a little easier because you can show their thoughts without a weird narrator or something like that. But often the sidekick is a little different to give that counterpoint or the opposing ideas for the hero. So when they're two alike, I think you still need to have friction between them because they have to either annoy each other or be competing.
One's got to cause a problem.
Yeah, there's got to be something. If they're too similar, I mean, like in our world, of course, we want to hang out with somebody that's our friend because there's no strife. We don't want that. But in a story, you want them to be annoyed probably by each other or have some ulterior motive or something.
Yeah, if they get along, it's boring.
Exactly. There's
it is. Yeah, there's got to be some kind of.
There's got to be some conflict, guys.
That's
why
that's
the word I'm using.
In any story where a character shows up and they're getting along too well, I mean, I think immediately a lot of us are like,
something's going to happen.
Something's
going to happen here.
Something's going to come along and mess that
exactly.
up.
Something's not. Yeah, it can't stay that way. Iron Man and War Machine, they have their strife. They're very similar in their goals, but they're different people. But yeah, you can't have them be too similar for too long.
Yeah.
So let's segue into start to dip our feet in the pool of Silverline for a minute here. What about Silverline characters? Now, you two Wizards of Wordplay do some book called Steam Patriots. And
we did.
Yeah, you did. A while back. No, it's a great book. Highly recommend it.
Thank you.
It takes place in the Revolutionary War period, and it has a unique historical context. we used to call that, historical fiction. I guess you could still call it that.
History.
It's action adventure. Yeah. That being said, that brings the opportunity of historical figures crossing over.
Yeah.
So that's a team up in a way, because while those characters aren't particularly comic book characters, they're historical figures. So you've got some people you want to share with us who share the stage with your leading character in Steam Patriots.
Rory, I don't know how much we want to reveal about future ideas, because we got people. When we've said this a bunch of times, we don't want it to be like a Magic School Bus kind of thing where Felix is fun. He's here for that.
Very organic,
peeking in the window and everything, and he's. We did want to throw in some key players in the Revolution, but in the
And talk about it. I mean, they're already in the works, so might as well.
Yeah, the first book we give George Washington a quick cameo, and then Ben Franklin's going to be very important. But real history, Ben Franklin is gone for almost the entire Revolution.
Yeah, he's
overseas.
Yep,
that's right. That's right. He was the ambassador to France.
And we didn't want to take that away, so we thought it's a great opportunity. Something's going to happen that Ben's got to go, and Felix is going to have to take the reins. So he's going to need to rely on our hero. Felix is young, and he's going to be stupid through a good portion of the. He's going to do dumb things and rely on smart people, which really is interesting because the Revolution had a lot of young people, like in their 20s, directing the course of our history. And Felix is going to have to rely on folks like that.
So you're saying that the Revolutionary War was testosterone driven?
Maybe. There's a lot of
and taxes, very tax driven. We went to war over a 3% tax. I don't know what we're doing now.
Well, there were some young people with a lot of energy, and these kids are in their 20s usually when they're doing this. So people we hear about like von Steuben and Lafayette. They were young as well, and so they'd be really cool. We don't want to make them a primary character. We want that to give them a moment where readers can see what's going on with this person, but focus on Felix. There's another guy, Peter Francisco. If anybody wants to look him up, there's also a movie that's a miniseries that's in the works. Look him up, Peter Francisco. Real interesting. Kid got kidnapped from the Azores as a kid. And the history is a little sketchy, but they think this is the same kid because he showed up in, I think, Virginia, and he had nice clothes on. And they're pretty sure the people kidnapped him wanted to ransom, but it didn't work out, so they just left him. And he got adopted, and he was present at the Patrick Henry "Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death" speech. Wow. And then went on to be like 6 foot something and that was really tall at the time. And George Washington called him
6'7", wasn't he? He was huge.
Something like that. Yeah, called him the Hercules of the Revolution. He carried a long sword that Washington had commissioned specifically for him. And this guy's got all these amazing stories, and then some of them turn into a little bit of tall tales. We think. One of the states has a stamp. They made a stamp. I don't know if you've seen it. He's holding a cannon. I don't know if you've seen that image from like the 70s. There's a story that he picked up a cannon in the battle. Oh, wow. And there's instances of people doing amazing things like that, but it's one of those kind of maybe tall
could
tales.
Be a tall tale.
Anyways, so these are all. I mean, these are real people.
Well, there weren't very many of those back then. I mean,
no. One of the few tall tales.
No, they weren't.
Sure. Well, what in your mind? What other Silverline title character would mesh well with Steam Patriots? Because that's kind of where we're headed here.
I have had so the problem is our reality, the Steam Patriots world, is kind of on its own reality. So we have the Silverline world of cat and mouse, and we're going to have that world of the crime fighting kind of real world heroes. What do we call them? The street level heroes of Silverline. And I think we're going to have a little bit of like the superpowers come into it, right? I don't know how it's all going to work out, but we'd have to assume that those titles are on the same timeline, as
yes.
So they would. We don't know. I don't know.
We don't know.
I would suggest,
at this point, we're not
if
sure.
anybody, it would be Kalis.
Because of the time traveling.
Yeah, because has its own. Yeah, I think that
who
would
knows?
work.
Maybe split off into different timelines while you got shot up there.
Could your hero live long enough to interact in Silverblade?
Silverblade. When does that start, Dean?
Well, Silverblade starts in the Middle Ages, and because the title refers mostly to the metal and the swords and weapons used by this particular type of silver and the medieval order of Templar Knights that protected and used this silver, it can run from the Middle Ages through time, like the Highlander series can run all the way up till...
We'll meet you at Oak Island.
The Masons who were big in the Revolutionary War era are essentially an offshoot of those
Templars.
That could be brought in.
But doesn't your book take place during the Victorian era?
My book takes place a little too late as far as its current adventure, because it's 1892.
Like I said, if he lived long enough.
If he lived long enough,
we could have some sort of steam, like Felix,
automaton,
it's just his head in
a glass jar, like Nixon on Futurama.
Or guys, I mean, it's not that far of a reach. Barb's got a point, because H.G. Wells, The Time Machine, right?
Yeah.
So that falls into Victorian era, just about. So think about, if a steam-powered time machine, something could happen.
You know how we talk about storytelling and like leaving it, if you don't have the details, you just don't even.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just do it.
Time machine is he builds it and then he has a lever. And that's
there's a lever.
I advance by pushing the lever and slow down.
That big thing spins behind him.
I watch time pass before me faster and faster as
that is every sci-fi movie from the 90s.
But as far as a direct Silverblade connection, if you didn't want to do an older Felix in the Victorian era, we could definitely do a member of the Sacred Order of Silver during the Revolutionary War, make an appearance and actually mention the Order of Sacred Silver. So that would in itself be a nod to something like that.
I do like so. Maybe
there's
put
always
that Sacred Silver in Peter Francisco's
a little cameo.
Ooh, how about that? Maybe he's a member. See, it all goes back to these secret societies, right? It always goes back.
No, it's a society of secrets, not a secret society.
Indeed.
We can't call it the Masons. Maybe we'll call it the Stonecutters.
That's it.
Indeed. Yeah, don't want to get into trouble with any of these guys, right?
Is that copyrighted?
Don't want any knocks on the door, right? Late at night.
Is Illuminati copyrighted?
That's a Simpsons.
My husband is currently reading all the Dan Brown books, and oh my god!
Oh my god!
I've already read them years ago, but he's like chewing through them as fast as he can. Did you know?
I like Angels and Demons better than Da Vinci Code. I think Angels and Demons.
Angels and Demons was much better.
He was reading the excerpts of books I've already read. So like, did you know this?
Did you know?
Yeah.
So Barb, let's come back down to current day street level. And, Divinity being the award-winning title it is, who would you see easily guest starring and teaming up with the Divinity crew?
The most obvious choice and the easiest choice would be Cat and Mouse, because Divinity and Zach and Olivia are on the run. They're crisscrossing the country to stay away from the big bad. And they could easily pull into the Big Easy. And since the evil cabal has got eyes and ears everywhere, somebody could be noticing them coming into New Orleans, and they getting into trouble, and there's Cat and Mouse to get them out of trouble, and they could team up and get themselves out of a jam, and then off they run to the next one. That one would be a super easy crossover. But if we're going to keep it all in the same universe, the current day universe, we have Switchblade and Kalis would also work. They could cross over with either Cat and Mouse or Divinity. So I can see those easily being all.
I think Kalis even lends itself here because of the sort of intelligence community interest in Divinity, in her powers.
I can see Zach running into the guy from Kalis, and then they get to talking, and he finds out that he's got all these connections into the intelligence community, and he can find out stuff for Zach that would help him out, to get away from the cabal.
Can I make a plug real quick right here? Because I had to do this because Silverline is exploding so quickly. We have so many titles. SilverlineComics.com across the top, drop down all of our titles. We'll drop down alphabetical because we have a lot of titles. And sooner or later, we're going to need somebody whose job is continuity if we're going to do all this stuff because, like the big guys, it'll fly out of control.
Yeah.
We're going to need a little caption with a little when someone says, "Oh, I can't believe so and so just fell off that roof," we're going to be like asterisk
reference
C cat and mouse number 17. What I kicked your butt last time. Yeah, so we're gonna have
that's easy when you only have 8 books.
Well,
but it's not so easy when you get into multiple books,
Yeah.
which Marvel is finding out. So, back in the day when Kirby was plotting everything essentially. So
Well, that could work out very well, Barb. I'd love to see that because you could even have the intelligence community behind, you have a villain in the book, but that's more of the old-fashioned private villain. But then you could have a government agency watching him to see what happens, and I don't know if I'm giving away anything where you're going with it, but that would be a cool.
Just to let everybody know, I just counted them, and you could probably see me counting them.
I just did the same thing.
Yeah, 33 titles. We have
33 titles.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible.
Yep, they're on that.
Although
page,
I think like Twilight Grim, the book I work on is essentially its own little universe. I don't know how it would fit in with the others.
I think Bloodline. I think it would fit in with Bloodline.
Okay, I'm not familiar with Bloodline, so
it's got vampires in it.
Yeah.
Well, that might work. Mm-hmm.
So I think we could get into
That's like East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast vampires. We could get into, for funsies, because we did make, the Christmas one was little stories.
Sure.
But for funsies, of course, what's to stop us from doing some crazy mashup? That's not canon. That's like Treehouse of Horror, where everybody dies. It doesn't matter.
And here's an interesting twist. Don't use the regular team. Give it to a different team.
Oh yeah, that's
never touched it before. Yeah,
you're right.
Have them write your characters in. Yeah.
And Rob, I don't know how much influence you have with the storyline of Friar Rush, but the Silverblade order may be something you could work into that too. You could mention it to the writer. I don't know who's writing that. Do you know? Okay. Just because fighting vampires, it could work.
Bloodline. Who wrote
we
Bloodline?
already have a crossover.
Sidney Williams.
This is the demon book, right?
Yes.
The demon shows up in Cat and Mouse.
Yep.
Yes. Right. That's an existing crossover.
So in the Cat and Mouse world, we accept there is powers or supernatural.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So there are some supernatural elements.
He could pop up in other books.
Yeah.
Like Mantis
that
Files.
particular character could, he could be like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yes.
He could pop up in the Mantis Files. He could pop up. He's a demon,
he's kind of like Nightcrawler in a way, and he's so the opposite personality wise from how he looks, which kind of the way Roland writes him. That's what works so well. Is he's really kind of a mild-mannered veterinarian, and he happens to look mutated like that for various reasons that are told later, but it's kind of that awkward, I'm not as fierce and scary as I look, but it helps sometimes.
He's an average Joe.
Yeah, interesting story about demons. So pick up the demon books for those of you who have not. Rory, what are your thoughts on a Silverline crossover that pops into your head, like as we talk about these characters? What do you see like as being compelling? I threw out the idea of even Miss Fury and Divinity as a thought.
I was thinking Teen Beetle and Cap and Champ and Ms. Fury, because they're very superhero-y
Yes.
teams.
Yes. Yep. That could work too. Rory, what do you think? Anything pop into mind with the Silverline books?
I would have to read more of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
To really
That's
hone
my
in.
problem too. Yeah.
Really hone in on
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Right.
I've got about 28 more to read.
Yeah, you got to catch up, man. You got to do
I haven't even read our own. I don't know what happens.
it.
Yeah, I think the Silverline. Yeah, I think the Silverline world, and our comics. We have like I was saying, in the cat and mouse world, they've accepted superpowers and supernatural. So, so Divinity would work. It wouldn't be weird.
Neither would Sirens.
Right. So and then maybe
New Orleans,
even Kalis, time travel, something weird.
Yes.
So we have that world, and then I feel like our world is just a different timeline. It doesn't have supernatural, and then we have the world of like Wolf Hunter, which it's just straight up. It's fiction, but historical. You wouldn't want a time traveling Sasquatch to show up in World War II for Tim's title. I don't think that wouldn't work. So, because like if you combined Wolf Hunter and Steam Patriots, you'd have to accept that there was steam technology in this, throughout the 1800s like that. So while it's not impossible, but you're really changing your whole. If you're accepting that in your world, you got to change a lot. So,
well, that brings something to mind that I want to ask you, Scott. Do descendants of characters count as team ups? I say
That's
they
a
do.
good question. That's a good question.
So, for
I'd say
example,
so.
if Felix Ward's progeny were to show up in Wolf Hunter, that wouldn't be a problem, would it?
The only thing I'm saying is that the Wolf Hunter world would have to accept that there were boiler carriages in 1770s. And then, so like as a reader, you have to be like, wait, but World War II still happens as normal.
We would have to stunt the actual steampunkiness.
Right. Yeah.
Later.
Yeah.
Right. You'd have to have just like they did in Discovery, like to explain why the Enterprise is not like the 60s Enterprise. And, we fried all of our holographic.
Something happened.
Whoopsie. And so we
have giant retcon.
It also explained why the Klingons look different.
Exactly.
So
Wolf Hunter would have to say, in 1848. Well, Rory, we could put the steamboat inspection service regulation.
Yes, over-regulated
service, and they got so onerous that steam technology was just gone.
Yeah, just forget it.
It started World War II.
We're going to whale oil.
Now, in a different way, though, maybe Felix Ward's descendants could appear in some of the more street level comics that accept supernatural elements like Divinity or Cat and Mouse or Champ.
Again, I would want to lay some sort of groundwork. I'm not saying if we were creating this world, we can't just have like them around the corner and be like, oh well, hi, you're from another type. There's gotta be a little foreshadowing. There's gotta be something.
In an organic way, a well-written way.
It could be like Felix's great-great-great-grandson, who's some eccentric shopkeeper in New Orleans who sells crazy.
Yeah, and you want
to
lay that groundwork, and then bring the characters.
How cool would that be, though? Have Divinity Cat and Mouse walk into this really mysterious shop filled with steam-powered gadgets on Bourbon Street.
Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be fun.
And it's like the great-great-grandson of Felix Ward.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
So that's the kind of
some sort of leftover something from.
If you think about it, we did have an age where steam power was all the rage.
Oh yeah.
But we moved beyond it because we found better, more efficient ways to power machines.
Yeah.
Technically, we're still using steam power today.
We are.
Most power plants are actually steam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So nuclear still hanging around.
Definitely are. Yeah.
Right.
And if you've ever gone to a convention, there's plenty of those shops that you're talking about.
Yeah.
With
Well, there's
steam.
all kind of weird.
And
So
if you-
science
and if
fiction
you-
conventions, there's lots of booths with steam.
And
If
if
you
you
glue
want to
gears
go
to
back
it.
in
Stuff.
time, the Romans
If you glue
actually
gears
used
to it.
steam
They,
in some of their
they
works.
would turn things. Yeah, they would boil, and the
They
vents
used
would
them very
turn.
very simply, but
Yeah.
they didn't do anything really elaborate.
They were a
They
novelty.
used them maybe to open doors or to warm buildings mostly. So
They had doorbells.
But Rob, that was aliens. It was not
the same ones that built the pyramids, right?
The same ones that built.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Ever seen those Nazca lines?
Yeah,
Far
yeah.
enough away, they'll
Machu
form just
Picchu.
about
Those-
anything.
Yep.
There's some interesting stuff out there.
There really
about,
is some weird stuff
about
about power lines and how where they cross and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
when
Ley
those are the
lines
nexus
and
of
how would they know
ley
that?
lines.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
That's
Sure.
that's pretty
that'll
wild
solve all of our.
stuff.
That's how we make all of our mashups. Aliens.
There-
Yeah.
Aliens.
Oh.
At the end of
Yay!
every comic book, they'll just be like, you just pan out, and it's aliens. And
Alien problem
Well,
solved.
who are
There
the
you
people?
go.
dream.
Who are the
And
people
it's
in the
all-
Marvel universe that do that?
Which one?
Yeah, yeah.
Like the tall alien watcher
the-
guys.
Or
Yeah.
just have him
The
wake
Watchers,
up in
actually.
bed with Suzanne Plachette.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey,
Is that
It's
the
all a
end of
dream.
Saint Elsewhere, or right?
yeah, sure.
New
Okay,
Park.
movie.
Dallas, it was all a dream.
Yeah.
It was all a dream.
Yeah, Dallas.
Step out of the
yeah.
shower.
So-
Yeah, they did some crossovers too that were somewhat unsuccessful.
So
But so let's talk about what works right now with Marvel crossovers. Is there anybody you guys would pick up a book if you saw these two characters together? Would it be Cable Deadpool? Would it be Daredevil Spider-Man? Would it be Spider-Man Human Torch? Would it be Iron Man Spider-Man? I mean, what would bring you to pick up a title with a mainstream character, and why?
Well, I'm gonna start out on that one. I actually did that. They started the whole Avengers line where they went back to the big three: Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, yes, this is what I want. I want these quintessential three.
Yeah,
And
the
they had,
iconic
and
ones,
they were
yeah.
like that for like 3 issues, and then they brought in all these other characters, and they all went off in different directions. Like,
Mhm.
I give up.
just yeah.
What worked? What worked about that for you? Was it the concept of those three icons being together, or was it well-written banter, well-written adventure? What did it for you as far as that
The first issue that they were all talking, they were like, oh, we've been through so much, and we've never gotten along, but this new batch of kids that are coming along, they need some help. And I'm like, but we did that one. I don't want to do it again. And and then Thor's like, we have to, we're the heroes. And,
we're the heroes. It's what we do.
yes. And so they all agree that they're gonna step up and give it one more try, and it's what I really liked was I liked Thor's enthusiasm. Even but he wasn't a buffoon of any sort.
Good. Good.
His eternal enthusiasm, and Tony Stark and Captain America, they acknowledged that they had Steve Rogers. They acknowledged that they had a terrible past. They always butted head. They were always having problems. And in one part, Tony Stark says, well, let me see. Last time we had a war, I died. And they acknowledged that, and they acknowledged it, that they had to get past it. And I thought that was a great start. And then about 3 or 4 issues down the road, then they're all breaking up into tiny little separate teams when they bring in all these other people. And like, but that's not what I picked this book up for. I wanted those three to stay together. And now,
that's
in
good to know.
3/4 of the books, you don't even see like Tony Stark, or in this book you see a lot of Thor, but not Captain America. So they're all out doing their own thing.
Is it fair to say that they lured you in
Mm-hmm.
with the crossover of those 3 iconic characters, and then it became a mentor book for the new generation of kids?
Yeah, and it wasn't And I got about 20 issues in, and I gave up.
You're like, whatever.
You were the team creating this book. What would be the justification? Like what? Like, okay, why? Why do you think they thought it was a good idea to do that?
Marketing person told them to. Yeah.
Well, they were riding the waves of the MCU.
Yeah.
Thor, Iron Man, Steve Rogers, everybody was in.
Yep.
Let's tell everybody we're gonna do a book with these three, and like
gonna bring them back.
Yeah, we'll all jump in, and then we bring in. Now let's bring in Gorilla Guy and
Squirrel Girl
and
Squirrel Girl and Alpha Guy and Beta Girl and
Ghost Rider and this person, that person.
It's to lure the readers in. Okay, here's the guys you saw in the movie. Now see who else is in this universe, and start picking up their books as well. And it's just it's a money grab.
Yeah, it was a marketing ploy, and it sucked me.
It's a marketing ploy. I mean, isn't it interesting?
It might have worked. I don't know.
Isn't it interesting though how in the day, the comic book world, right, was the foundational encyclopedia for these people. Most of them didn't even know who Wolverine was 25 years ago, right? And now they're telling us where to put Wolverine for marketing purposes, right? So take these people, like 25 years ago, the average person couldn't tell you who's Wolverine. What is that? Is that like a mascot for a football team? Yeah, that's all they knew, right? Now they're telling you, no, Wolverine would work better over here. So the arrogance of just because the movies made all this money off of these publications that were beloved for decades, and most of those characters shepherded with care and enthusiasm and tradition and all of that, and now that they made a bunch of money, get that guy with the claws. What's his name? Put him in this because the kids like the guy with the claws. What's his name? Badger or something? I don't know. Badger Man. Yeah, that's, so you've got these guys who their only investment in the material is monetary. They don't have the love for it, right? And that's the big flaw. I think that's why, we complain a lot about where Hollywood goes with a lot of our beloved characters. I think that's the main reason is all of a sudden these people are instant experts on books that have been around for decades when, like I said, 25 years ago, who's Wolverine? What's that? Fantastic. What? Thor? What? Human Torch? What is that?
It's got to hurt.
Yeah, right. So again, the arrogance.
Look at the DCU. They have Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And that was a big success, and so they have Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Aquaman was a big success.
Yes.
So all of this was leading up to throwing them in with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and then Flash,
Cyborg,
and Cyborg.
And they brought these guys in. Everybody's like,
I couldn't believe they brought Cyborg in. That really, that kept me from watching them to going to see the movie. I didn't go to see it
because we're throwing in two unknowns that the audience is not familiar with, and in the hopes that they'll take off. And then the guy that played the Flash, he
look at Tommy says, "Howdy, great to see everyone." And Rory's beard. We love and Rob's beard. Look at that.
Rory's beard is a
come on, goatee boy. Let's go. Come on, Scotty. You got Scott. Come on. There you go.
I can't compete with Rory. I mean, he's
the beard master.
I've seen it. Pretty.
Yeah. Is it intense?
No,
pretty good.
Does he make him look like Gandalf? Yeah.
Rob's got a pretty good Gandalf look.
Yeah.
Wait, speaking of Rob, your background.
That's
good.
That's good. It's good stuff.
Your background is a little different. Where you at?
He's in an undisclosed location.
You're in Ohio.
I'm in Ohio.
Where in Ohio are you?
I'm so sorry.
Cambridge.
Cambridge.
2 hours from Pittsburgh. I'm going to a convention in Pittsburgh tomorrow.
How cool is that?
Pulp Fest.
Yeah. I wanted to go to that.
Hey, we drive up there.
Hola, Silverline family.
Hola. It's always
Hola.
good to see folks that are chiming in. So
so this is the hotel room. That's what you see behind me instead of my
Rob,
studio.
you're 45 minutes away from me.
Am I really?
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Wow. Sounds like a plan for a team up, guys. Whoa,
this is a team up.
That's
Rory
what
Boyle,
we're
Rob
talking about
Davis,
tonight,
Silverman
kids.
team up.
Go this way.
I know. Okay, so arguably we've seen a movie. We've seen a movie team up, but I don't consider it a team up. To me, Captain America and the Winter Soldier is not a team up because the Winter Soldier is part of Cap's supporting cast.
Yes,
right?
I don't consider that a team up because.
Okay, so that
isn't that weird?
Can I throw this out there? We were talking about Wolverine. Which movie was it that had was it the origins of Wolverine, and they had that montage of him and Sabretooth fighting in all the wars? I would like to see a movie of them together going through.
That would be interesting.
There you
So
go.
is that a team up? They're brothers. Is that a team up?
No, not really, because we're specifically talking about individual titles, primarily from a single publisher joining team, like Luke Cage and Iron Fist, for example. That's a classic Marvel team up. That works.
Black Canary.
Right. Excellent. That works because of the differences in their characters and the style of the characters. It again, they provide a great balance for each other. I don't know if any of you guys saw the Defenders, which was not that great, but there's a lot of Luke Cage Iron Fist banter that harkens back to their classic adventures back in the day. Because, you had the streetwise Luke Cage and then sort of the pseudo-intellectual rich kid college boy kung fu master together, and they would just banter off each other, and it provided a lot of opportunity for humor. Rory, you're about to say something, sir? Yes.
So I want to team up between the Phantom and Dick Tracy.
Whoa! And that hasn't happened yet? Nice.
I don't know. They're both 30s, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What about the Shadow thrown in there?
They're different syndicates, but that could be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. The Shadow is an interesting character that could have been another franchise. I think it was a combination of bad timing, not a great script, but you've got an interesting character there that blends a little bit of supernatural.
I think that movie could have been edited into a better movie than it was.
Yeah,
so
I think you're
right.
That
was one of the Baldwins,
some of the
wasn't it?
sillier stuff.
If we're going to do that, then we need to do Garfield.
That was Baldwin.
What's that? Garfield and.
Well, if we're going to do that, then we need to do Garfield and Snoopy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Why not? What a great team up. What about, speaking of that, what about Beah and Beyond the Stars? Because aliens, right? I mean, aliens, they can do anything. They pluck things out of different dimensions and bring back. I've always thought it would be interesting to bring like that sort of Winnie the Pooh world and somehow bring it into the real world for just one story.
I would think Beyond the Stars.
Calvin and Hobbes and Winnie the Pooh.
Ooh. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Tigers and bears. Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my.
Yeah. What about, do you guys remember Spider-Man and the Human Torch teaming up in comics?
Never read it. I'm familiar, but
I know what happened.
Yeah.
No,
that was in Marvel. Was it in Marvel Team Up?
Marvel Team Up. So it was actually,
yeah,
that was the name of the book, and it did very, very well. Partly because of the artist John Byrne, I think, and Claremont wrote some of them. So you had a good team on it. But the other reason is what we've been talking about in the entire broadcast is Spider-Man's character works very well with Johnny Storm as a foil, because Johnny is the blonde-haired, blue-eyed hotshot that got all the girls and drove the fast cars before he became a superhero, the Human Torch, right? So he had it all beforehand. Easy for Peter Parker nerd to hate Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm would have been like on Flash Thompson's side, during the hazing and bullying that he suffered in high school. So them teaming up would just provide for this amazing banter back and forth from, big man on campus and nerd together having to fight bad guys. I feel
like Spider-Man is really almost a ready-made team-up character for almost anybody because he's most of the time easygoing. But then, Dean, you made a great point. You put him with Cap, he's going to want to learn and grow. Or you put him with somebody like Johnny Storm, there's going to be some animosity, and then maybe he's going to be not as amenable to getting along. Either way, I think Spider-Man is one of those. He would fit in.
Very much so. Very much so.
Deadpool would be a terrible influence on him.
Yeah.
I don't think Peter would like Deadpool very much because Peter at his core is a Boy Scout. He's just that good. He wants to be like Cap, and this was really explored more so in the comics, and sadly not in the films as much because of situational production decisions. But in the comics, Captain America and Peter Parker have a lot in common in their pre-superhero origins. In that, Steve was sort of the nerdy, skinny kid before the soldier serum, and Peter Parker, same thing.
The skinny weakling of the Atlas
of the group, right?
Program,
and
the Atlas program where you
right.
Kick sand in his face.
Nerd, up so you can get that guy's face.
Exactly, and so that connection there, and the fact that you would have all of the history that Cap has been through, and having to adjust to the new world. But then you'd have a very good paternal influence over Peter. I think it's a perfect team up. I'm surprised we don't see more of it. Queens Brooklyn thing. Yeah, absolutely.
In the MCU, they have it as Tony Stark being the parental influence.
Right.
And, like most people would say, oh, that's terrible. But if you look at canon. In the books, Tony Stark has always been a really good mentor to the young.
Yeah,
he's always mentored young kids, teens, and young adults.
Yeah, he's a good character.
It makes sense. It definitely makes sense.
He's one of those guys that he's a total hiney hole. But then when he's needed, when it's necessary, you're like, wow, you can. Where did this come from? And in the movie timeline, Tony Stark went through his story arc. As bad as Iron Man 3 was, that was a good Tony Stark #1, where he's made that turn from irreverent and careless, cocky to caring. And so the movie did it really well. The movie fit that part of his life together.
In the books, he's mentored Squirrel Girl and America Chavez and Spider-Man and a ton of teenage kids.
Yep. Let's bring it to Silverline, Barbara. Who would be a good mentor character for Divinity outside of your supporting cast?
Outside of the supporting cast. That's a good question. Probably, as you said, Ms. Fury.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
I could see that.
I could see Kalis, just because telling her don't trust anybody. Don't trust organizations or government.
Yeah.
I think Kalis would be a better mentor to Zach. Zach's only 26 years old, you got to remember, even though he's a Marine. But he's experiencing stuff way out of his comfort zone now. He's not only trying to raise an 11-year-old sister, but he's running from a cabal, and he can't believe all this stuff existed. He's been a straight shot Marine for all these years since he was 18. So he's kind of lost.
Does Silverline have any? So I go back to Cat and Mouse because that's kind of like the foundational crime fighting team for Silverline, and they're pretty much on the straight and narrow. They have their own character, their own personalities. Do we have a character that would rub them the wrong way? I mean, much like a Deadpool or a Punisher that wouldn't fit with them.
That's a good question.
I'm not deep enough. I know I've read a good portion of our street level fighters would. I'm going through quick.
Well, Champion would be a positive mentor, I think, for them because he's a little bit further. While he has some innocence and a lot to learn himself. He's a little bit further down the superhero crime fighting road than they are, but I don't know if they would clash. They might. I'm trying to think.
I haven't had a chance to read Sniper and Rook yet. Do you?
Nor have I.
If only John
we'll
were
have
here.
to. We'll have to ask John about. I did text him tonight and asked him to be on, but he's doing work stuff. He is going to join us here in a couple of weeks. Switchblade again. He's learning his way as well.
He's still
amateur boxer. Suspects that one of the people in his apartment building is a bad guy and just decides to do the crime fighting thing himself. So I'm not sure that they would clash. They would kind of be on the same team. Now, depending on how Brent wrote Kalis comes off a little bit as a little John Wick-ish in some of the tone. That sort of burned out feel might clash with, I know, Kat, because he's sort of an idealistic kid.
He'd probably resonate with Mouse, though, because she's very bitter.
Yes.
She's very bitter.
Yes. She might end up, that would be interesting. Kalis and Mouse is very much Wolverine and pick one of the young ladies, Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
Or I could see that. Or Rogue. Yeah. Because you have the grizzled veteran and then the young lady at a turning point in her age, teenager, like, I hate everything, no one understands me. And then sort of getting that mentor to help carry her through. That would be good, actually. Kalis, and I wish Brent would join us every now and then. That would be fun to have his input on that. Brent, if you're listening, come on in, buddy. I know you do the late arrival thing sometimes. Wish you would. But I like that idea of the grizzled veteran and the young character. Maybe they're having emotional distress and they're reaching a bitterness turn or something, and they need to be pulled through it. We got a lot of characters.
It would give Kalis fatherly feelings, and he
yes,
find something to live
direction in his life.
Yes.
It does need direction. Come on,
the old trope.
There's more to life than just killing bad guys, right? I mean, that's Wolverine.
Is there really? I mean, Dean,
is there really?
I mean,
we'd get the whole Logan feel.
The whole Logan angst.
Yeah.
Yes.
Has anyone watched? Sorry, I don't. Dean, you can redirect me. Has anyone watched Terminal List?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm only 4 episodes in, and
so good.
Wow, it gets violent. Don't ruin it for me. Talk about more to life than
I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to say a word, but that character's journey is excellent.
Yeah,
because it surprises you.
Yep.
You think it's going to be. You think it's going to be a Rambo thing, and it's all, here we go with the Special Forces guys. Yeah. But no, there's a little bit more to it.
And it starts off, they started off really good with making you think, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're not sold on him yet. It's really good. I don't want to spoil it because I'm only 4 or 5 episodes in. And it's one of the few that, like, I can stay up for one more 22-minute episode of something. Okay, one more. But this one's an hour long, and last night we stayed up. My wife and I stayed up way too late because we're okay. One more, and this is an hour long. And
okay, where are you? 4? You're in 4. What is he just done?
He was just in. So
he was just in Mexico. Is he in Mexico?
He no, the one after Mexico.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Don't see anything else. Yeah, that's the turning point.
After
the turning. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, because he does all that. Now I'm like,
does it rain?
Wait. What's that?
Does it rain?
And now I'm like,
there's an old thing about if you're watching a movie and there's supposed to be this big change, it rains.
Interesting.
Kind of
check it. I'm serious, and I'm serious.
Check out
movies.
Yeah, a lot of
it
check out movies.
Blood.
If there's a big change, an emotional change,
oh my God,
or
it
something,
does rain.
It rains
in Mexico.
There's a storm.
Big storm.
But funny, that's interesting about storytelling too. One of my favorite movies, again, that my wife hates. This is just from a storytelling aspect. Is Glengarry Glen Ross? It rains through the entire movie until the next morning, which that's a movie like talk about plot. Nothing happens in that movie, but it's David Mamet's dialogue through that whole movie.
Of course,
I love it.
But think like Blade Runner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dark and rainy. Whole movie.
Rainy.
I don't know if you guys saw the final season of Goliath with.
I didn't.
It rains during that the whole time too.
I'm gonna have to watch for this now. That's it. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, watch for it because.
Why wasn't that covered in my film class?
I don't know. Somebody brought it up to me one time, so I started looking for it, and I went, "Oh my god!"
Well,
now that you say that, it does rain. It does rain in the terminal list. There's a big storm.
I wonder if that's a thing that ebbs and flows because, like the apartment pan opening was a trope used for everything. The alarm clock going off. I'm late for work to establish this guy's irresponsible. Like you have to. The apartment's a mess. Like every 80s movie starts with the apartment pan.
Well, and then you have the training montage.
Yep.
Then you have
the
wake up late for work. Scramble.
When in doubt, montage
with the music going, getting the shoes on, going out
getting the shoes on, out the door. Oh, boy.
You gotta have Back in Time playing though.
Back off the rails. Here we go.
Right in the back of a car.
I'm gonna reel us back in here.
Someone should do that. And put them all next to each other.
That'd be great.
Every I woke up late movie.
I have next week's topic all ready to go now. It's going to be tropes.
Tropes.
Oh, we could have a lot of fun with that.
That would be fun.
If there's anything I'm good at, and I'm not good at much, it's nitpicking. I love finding those nits in it. It drives my dad. I know. If my sister's out there, I love you. She can't stand it. I can't stand. I go to movies with her. She's very boisterous. She's very theatrical. She likes to laugh and I'm like.
No.
But at the end of the movie, I'll be like, wait a minute. She's like, just enjoy the movie. And so I love my sister, but
from now on, it's nitpick swake. Nitpick swake is your name now.
I love nitpick.
Dick always gets irritated at me because I always go, well, I saw that coming a mile away.
Come on.
That's the other one.
It was a mile away.
Okay, now there's team ups that also result in romantic tension for the characters, which can also work. Okay, so what occurred to me was, now this has happened, with Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Wonder Woman. It's happened, of course, with the X-Men, but they're all a group anyway, so I don't really want to use them as crossovers. But if you think about Silverline, imagine Miss Fury with Kalis, or, think about that for a second, right? Or how about Cat and Miss Fury, right? So the sparks would fly there, and Mouse might not be thrilled with that situation.
Or maybe Olivia and Cat, or Olivia and Miss Fury.
We'll go that route as well. But again, you have these opportunities for these crossovers, especially with the street fighting characters, which, by the way, that's coming up. I've scheduled the next 3. We got street fighting characters that have no superpowers. That was that was a subject. Rory, thank you, by the way. You've helped with some great ideas for long-term future titles. Everybody else is behind on that.
I just have ideas.
Did you just say the sentence, Rory helped?
Yes, Rory actually helped. Yes.
I don't have good ideas. I just have ideas, and Scott makes them good. Here, take this pile of crap.
I see how it is. But that's one of them. So just to tease some future episodes, we've got a non-superpowered superheroes and what that entails. We've also got, by popular demand, a sequel to the Cover Me episode, which I'm playfully calling Take Cover, where we explore more covers, why we like them, what works, what didn't.
That
got so much.
Roland really liked that episode.
Really?
And so did some of our viewers did too. Yeah.
So by popular demand,
It was
we're
a
doing
fun
another
episode.
cover.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was good, and
But I'm getting paid to say
it really does speak to the book by its cover attraction to the casual viewer and the fan that walks into a store. You're literally bombarded, and how do you choose? And the cover is the doorway into your story, so it's an important element. But back to the team up thing. Anybody have thoughts on one of their favorite quote unquote romantic team ups? Can be mainstream, can be cross publisher, doesn't matter. Anybody, just jump in.
Daredevil,
Right.
Black
Would
Widow.
you put Wonder Woman in DC with an MCU person?
Oh,
Or not an MCU, a Marvel?
Iron Man.
Iron Man?
Yeah, because romantic tension, and I think Diana would see him as such a silly little gadget boy, and he would see her as, oh my gosh, you're a goddess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he would try to be cool with her and suave, and she's having seen this for a long, long time. Every one-liner thrown at her, that would just make for great banter, I think, with her being the sort of aloof, highly intelligent, and can just crush him with her bare hands kind of, powerhouse that she is. But I think she would show a lot of compassion and a lot of mercy on him.
I see her with Steve Rogers. Because
good
she
one.
Has a,
Tell
she
us
has
why.
a thing for
Is that
Steve,
because kind of like the Wonder Woman movie was kind of like with Chris Pine was sort
Welcome,
of like
Brent.
It was Captain America in World War One.
Yes, Brent. I want to take this moment not just to welcome you to the
romance.
show, but we've been talking about team ups all night, primarily using references to mainstream team up characters, and then applying some of that to ours. But how about Kalis with Miss Fury? What would that be like?
Well, just like freak out, like what?
Never. Watch Brent just say, "I'm out."
Yeah,
I would never allow
my character.
Yeah. I mean, I've always looked at Kalis as like two different stories. One that's this big, huge geopolitical idea that's slowly taking shape, but the other, it's about a guy who's invulnerable who works for the CIA. So if I looked at it from that angle, that would totally make sense. So he's got to go to New Orleans or something to break up something, and why would the CIA would be in New Orleans is something I would have to make up, but that's what I do.
That's what you do, man.
To make things up.
The other cool thing we came up with, much like the sort of mentor situation between Wolverine and, say, Rogue, you would have a great Kalis Divinity team up. I think would be really cool, because I mentioned that perhaps the CIA has an eye on Divinity already, and the villain that is currently in the Divinity storyline is more of the private villain that's not affiliated with government as far as we know, but maybe the government is watching all this take place from afar.
And Zach
is waiting
would really appreciate some direction and some help.
Yes.
Punk band.
I also think Kalis could use somebody to catch him up on what he's missed in the past 60 years, right?
Yeah. So he would ask, what is she, like 8 years old?
Yeah,
no, we're talking about Zach, the brother, her older.
But we were talking about Divinity too.
26.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Cat. Mouse having the rogue like
from Kalis was teamed up with Divinity. Meaning
that's
like the mentor kind of guy. He would need somebody to be like, we have the internet now, and we don't listen to records or records of that
or hip jive talk. I just don't. On campus last week, some girl said, "Hey, I like your fit." I'm like, fit?
What?
Yeah, like a fit.
right.
Fit.
Oh man,
Outfit.
the possibilities are
Out-
endless.
Oh, man.
Outfit.
Was it fetch?
It was totally fetch.
I remember the first
Not
time
fetching.
someone told me I saw the Iron
Quite
Man
fetching.
movie and it was sick, and I'm like, "What do you mean it was a great movie?"
Yeah, sick is another big one.
Yeah.
Sick.
Heavy. You keep using this word. Of course, the nuclear fallout from what is
Or bad back in the 80s.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah. Bad.
Man, that was
That's
bad, man.
We're all old.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess. Now, okay, I'm going to sound really. I'm sorry, Dean. I keep derailing this. I'm going to sound really, really, really old when I say this.
That's what
But
you're here
does
for.
anybody else feel like whatever's trendy, like him saying, like you're fit, that's going to last about another month.
Right.
And then
Yeah,
if I were to say it, it'd be
it's over.
It's over.
and it's gone. It's
Oh,
already
No,
done.
if you
I
start
say
picking
it.
it up,
Yeah,
it's
look,
done.
Well, Rob says it's pretty cool.
Definitely dead.
I'm just saying, I feel like
definitely dead.
I have teenagers, and I, of course, I try to be the coolest dad ever and use
Oh, sure.
all the lingo, as the kids say.
Besties.
Yeah.
Besties.
But
Yeah.
every time I feel like I figure out what they're talking about, they're already like, Dad.
That was
last
That was
month.
last-
last
that was
week,
yesterday.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Get on the forums.
Come on. Get on
That
the
was
forums.
that was a minute ago.
A minute, I miss it so fast. I don't even try. So I just tell them things are totally tubular and rad. And
Tubular,
all right.
man. Excellent.
Oh yeah, that's
Radical.
right.
I
Farm
really
out,
wanted
man.
I wanted to write this
Groovy,
scene
man.
where
Groovy.
you have two friends that get separated and one gets in trouble and the other one comes out with a cannon to save them. And the friend says, "Hey, it's the BFF with the BFG." And it occurred to me, I can't use that phrase. It's already probably outdated.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
already,
it's already done.
it's
But you
gone.
can use it. You can lean into that.
Yeah.
You could. Yeah, that could be fun.
But
Like,
you could have
Kind
somebody up on the
rewind.
side
Here's a
going,
VHS tape.
Yeah.
You could have a facepalm character in the
a
background.
faceplant.
But what I thought would be cool, though, you're right. Divinity could sort of bring him into pop culture,
Yep.
but he could sort of advise her about, look, I know what it's like to have the government chasing you around and dominating your life.
Been there.
Right? I've been
First
there. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, I killed a guy.
Yeah.
Or two.
Tell you about it. How old are you?
Just to, I shot a
Don't do
man
that.
just
I'm not
to
gonna
watch
tell
him
you about
die.
Oh yeah.
That's what always got me about,
Dum,
Logan hanging around with these like teenage girls, and they think,
Yeah.
Logan, you're so awesome or whatever. What does he talk to him about? So then, like, I used my middle blade and
Right.
like,
Yeah.
slit his
Yeah.
slit his throat.
Cut him
and
stem to
then I
stern.
cut
You ever
him
seen
right,
a
like,
seen a
what does he
carotid
talk to them
artery?
right? I mean, dinner with Wolverine. I mean, what's that like?
A decapitated skull weighs more than you think.
That's why we were
Exactly.
saying
It's
Kalis
about 9
would be a
pounds.
good hookup.
If
or
you
not
want,
hookup,
actually, isn't it about 20?
Yeah.
cat. No, mouse.
Yeah, you
Mouse
want to
would
lose
be
20 pounds? Cut your head off.
Mouse would
Sorry.
be is the disillusioned teenager, and she would and bitter and
Yeah.
hates the world, and she would hook up. Well, not romantically.
No. We know what you mean.
with
but-
Kalis, and he could be, yeah, kid, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
World sex.
Back when I
Yeah.
helped couple that dictatorship back in 1955.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up.
I used to kill 12 guys before breakfast.
Yeah.
It's come on.
Yeah.
He's
few
like
bu-
he's
few
got a
bodies
little
later.
Sergeant Fury. I mean, Nick Fury to him a little bit.
Wait, which Nick Fury?
Yeah,
Eddie,
Does he
I
have
mean, they're all
gray?
grizzled.
Gray with a high and tight, or
Gray with a high and tight,
or
Yeah,
a little more?
Remember when
Sam.
they used to allow them to
You could-
smoke, even Wolverine?
Yeah, he'd always have a-
Oh, yeah. Cigar.
Yeah.
It's really hard
Oh.
to draw heroes chewing gum. So
Yeah, I know, right?
And sunflower
I
seeds.
personally, look, I can personally say I used to love being able to draw, in sketches when
Yeah.
they want Wolverine or whatever, because it adds something to the atmosphere. You can put the little smoke trail.
Well, and here's the thing: he's got that healing factor.
Involved.
So
Yeah,
he can
right.
do
He's not
whatever
going to
he
die of
wants.
cancer. He's
Yeah,
not going to
he's
die
not
of
gonna have
anything,
cancer.
right? It's
No.
Wolverine.
What's great about
So-
independent comics, though? We can do that if we
We
want.
can do that.
That's
Yeah.
right. So,
Yeah, let's-
just slap a warning.
No
on it.
explicit tag on our comics.
I've said this before, but And you don't really need it in comic books, but again, David Mamet. Sorry, I do love his style. He's one of my guys that I like to emulate. He, as a playwright, he just wishes. I was watching something. He said, when they got rid of cigarettes and they couldn't have a cigarette gives you a pause for a beat, gives somebody something to do for a moment. So there's a moment of quiet where they're doing something. I don't know, in the comic books, I guess, I don't know if you got a frame where they're, but there's an element to having that cigar or a cigarette. Yeah. Who is the
You know what I've replaced that with, Scott? Them just doing hard drugs. No. Whatever
7% solution.
Black tar heroin
was just basically, coffee, tea, a blender in the kitchen. There's all sort of cooking,
smoothie,
like food prep, right? Waiting in line to pick up food.
It's not as intense as smoking.
I know, it's really not.
When I was in college the first time,
you haven't drunk some of the smoothies I have.
The first time,
so we had a drama class, and everybody who's in choir did drama too, just because it was fun. We did credits that didn't even matter. But my friend got up there with a glass. We didn't know what was in it, but there was something in it, and he's by this piano, and he has to give this monologue, and he busts out a pack of cigarettes, just lights up on stage, and the audible gasps. You can't.
No.
He aced it. He aced it because he really sold it.
That's
it was great.
So good. Oh, that's so good.
You got to look him up. Elliot Gould.
Yes, I know who that
always
is.
With a cigar. Always with a cigar.
Always with a cigar. Yeah.
Who's the guy also in? He's been in lots of stuff. He's in the Band of Brothers. He's the beefy guy that's in Band of Brothers. He's always got a cigar in his mouth too. He does that. I'll look him up. Continue.
Okay.
Sorry.
Continue. It could be. But again, there are things you can replace that pause with. Because basically you needed some business. We've talked about this before. You need some business for the characters to be doing that's not fighting and not just walking or standing in front of a proscenium of a stage where it's awkward and they're just standing with arms down. They need to be doing things. So good business to do is the sort of food prep, waiting in line to get something to eat. Doing things that normal people do, like, hey, I just getting gas in my car. That kind, you know what I mean? That kind of thing can help.
Standing, waiting for the subway.
Yeah.
For a bus.
Sure. Or reading a news. Nobody reads a newspaper. No, this phone. Yeah. Everyone. Yeah. This is the new cigarette. Is this now?
Michael Cudlitz.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, is that
he's in?
Or this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boring to watch, though.
It really is. Like, this is the new taking a drag off the
scene. Around the thumbs, but yeah.
I want to see a protagonist with a shovel in hand, and you can't really see. You can see he's digging, but around him is a garden and stuff. He's a monologue going, and then by the end of it, you pan out and he's dug a grave.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about horror stories again.
Yeah. We made it full circle.
Guys, we need to do. Silverline needs to do a horror anthology podcast.
Yes.
I'm up for it.
I can do it. I'm all in.
I would love to do a 6 or 8 pager for something like that. That would be so cool.
Are you saying so like real short horror?
Oh, you said horror.
Rory?
Horror. No.
Horror.
No, wait.
Scary.
Here.
Say scary.
Horror.
Scary.
What?
Yes.
Horror.
Or what?
Treehouse of Horrors. Yes.
Oh goodness.
Well, there you go.
A treehouse of horrors.
Wait. Horologist?
Into the silliness.
Talking about a horologist?
Just
watches. That's
you're
very
gonna do it again.
That's very
steampunk. Kicked off the air.
I'm sorry.
There we
I
go.
don't go to that treehouse.
Off the rails once again. All it needs to be is just bring up one word, mispronounced.
I try to come up with a good idea, and you guys just run it into the ground.
I was going to say,
I think
why don't
that's
we
a
do
good
a Halloween
idea.
book like we did a Christmas book last
Yes.
year? We can get it done in time. Let's get Brian to do it.
Let's do it.
Halloween.
Or
we got 2
months.
We got Headless Horseman.
We got heads. Well, here's the thing, guys. Here's what's cool. I think almost
Christopher Walken.
Yeah. Many. Yeah, that was weird. Many of the classic monsters, the Universal classic monsters, are public domain.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Especially Frankenstein, Dracula, Mummy, right? So we could even go there if you wanted to go class.
I just had somebody ask, would Frankenstein's monster have been as popular if someone had picked a last name like O'Malley? Or
nah,
Leibowitz?
Just doesn't feel
like that.
it's just not really there.
Something's missing.
Murphy,
Dr.
Murphy's monster. Be like,
Murphy's monster.
I don't know.
Fire,
It's not scary.
Where are the sausages?
No, we're just recreating Frankenstein now.
Those are fun, though. Like, monster stories are fun. I think we've gotten so far into slashers and serial killers and all this really serious, gross stuff that, we miss out on the charm of the old-fashioned monster.
Charm.
Yeah, really, charm is the word for it.
There's a charm.
Oh my gosh, like with cryptids and folklore.
Sure.
I love
Chupacabra.
Yeah,
Chupacabra.
living up in the Pacific Northwest, the stories of the Kushtaka.
Tell us.
Oh,
Tell
goodness,
us
those
sage
are otter
of the
people.
North.
They're shape changers. They can be anthropomorphic otter people.
Skinwalkers.
Yeah, they can
Furries?
be. They can. Well, okay,
Well,
sure.
there you go.
Barb, yep, those are even more frightening.
Leave it
Do
to
not
Barb.
bring
Takes
those up.
One more
Once
step
again,
closer to getting
stamp
this
the
kid.
show with a mature rating, ladies and gentlemen.
They are otters, and so they will show up as deceased loved ones in the water and call to you, and they'll pull you in the water. And it's a real.
Don't otters do that?
Well, otters are evil.
Yeah,
I could do a whole show. Don't get me started. They're adorable.
I thought they just cracked stuff like this.
They
hold hands.
They're
don't
Satan spawn. They come from the pits of hell to lure us in with their adorability-ness, and they're awful, awful monsters. Especially,
yeah, they're terrible.
People in the boat world, they are demons.
Kind of like those little creatures on Galaxy Quest.
Oh yeah,
absolutely right. Wow. So, is it fair to say you're going to do an otter horror story?
I might. Otter. I otter. One or the otter.
Oh, you otter. Oh, wow. We're going there now.
The Kushtaka is
otter do an otter
folklore. Wendigo and all those.
Wendigo.
Yes.
Missouri's got one, Momo. Missouri Monster.
Momo.
It's Momo, the Missouri Monster.
There's the Jersey Devil up in your parts. They're close to you.
There's the Bray City Beast here in Wisconsin.
Yes.
The Bray Road.
Wisconsin still
Bray
has
Road Beast.
werewolf sightings.
What?
Wisconsin
Seriously?
still has active werewolf sightings.
Wow, they do a lot of drugs.
Wisconsin's a strange place. It's all the cheese. It's all that lactic acid in the cheese.
Yeah, it's the cheesehead stuff.
I'm actually working on a
I think that's a little different acid you're talking about.
Whoa, but seriously,
momos are in Nepal. They are delicious dumpling-like meat and pasta kind of a dumpling, a momo. I've had them in Kathmandu.
In some of our travels. Globe-trotting.
Yes, look them up. They're delicious.
Wow, that sounds good. You should have had a cigarette for that line, right?
When I was in Kathmandu.
Seriously?
I enjoyed them.
The show now, I'm going to prep this beforehand off camera. There you go. Where we're actually going to be smoking during the show.
Yeah.
It can be fake. It can be fake, but you got to do it.
I don't have a pipe within reach. It's rare.
Sure. It adds character. You know?
Sometime we need to
plot. I'm serious.
There you go.
A joke.
I'm
serious.
Wow. See what I'm saying?
Leave
it to the coast to come up with an awesome
plot.
There's some good pictures somewhere. Scott and I,
off the rails.
After we were in our dress blues and we went to a cigar shop and we had cigars and got pictures. It just looked so classic.
Did you get? Oh, look at that.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's good skirmish.
Actually, my dear Watson.
Actually, here's some Sherlock Holmes trivia. His iconic profile with the calabash pipe.
Yes.
Sherlock Holmes never, ever once in any of his stories smokes a calabash. It was a stage production that took off as that
Gillette. Yep. Gillette did that. Yep. That's where the deerstalker cap and the Inverness cape came from as well.
Never in the books.
Yeah, it's not mentioned in the books at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So Basil Rathbun
straight for the cocaine, right?
And he shot up with laudanum and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, man. It's all
Obviously it works.
going on. I gotta ask the Coasties one thing though. Talking about like traditions and doing cool stuff to waste
so
time.
many traditions.
Did y'all ever play Numbly Peg? You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Numbly Peg, the knife around the fingers.
Oh, they did that. Didn't they do that scene in Aliens?
Yeah.
Is that a Marine thing? Is that only Marines? Yeah. I thought all sailors.
It must be. No, Coasties are too smart for that.
Well, there you go. That's why you all have your fingers.
That's right.
They're all, yeah.
The cooks look down upon that. When in the alley.
Have some of them anyway.
Some of them anyway. There you go. No,
we were teenagers. We used to throw knives at each other's feet.
Yep.
Yeah. We did all kind of stuff. Gosh, now I'm giving these teenagers ideas, but we did used to launch bottle rockets out of paper towel tubes. That was always fun too.
Yeah. Toy muskets work really well. You put the bottle rocket in the end.
Yeah.
And then you can just fire them. It may have something to do with my hearing on this side. I'm not saying whether or not it does. But...
What? Say again?
That was just too much metal. You're just listening to metal.
Yeah.
Volume 11.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. Me.
Mm-hmm.
I think we definitely went off the rails.
It was a fun ride.
Wow.
It was a real fun ride.
Wow.
Before we go, Brent, I want you to tell us what your favorite team up is. It can be mainstream. It can be unique,
that has already
independent.
been done?
What?
You mean that has already been done in comics?
Yeah. That has already been done. That you would, if you saw it on the shelf, either when you were a kid or today, you would see it on the shelf and go, "That's a cool team up. I got to pick that up." And why? I just want to get your take on team ups. Because we've covered all the classics. We covered, Superman, Batman. The obvious ones.
Star Trek, X-Men. We never talked about that one.
We never talked about that, right?
It happened.
Yeah. Star Trek, Star Wars.
Horrible.
What? Seriously?
That's a tough one.
Are you kidding? Star Trek?
Yeah.
Yes, they did it.
It happened. Yes. I had to look it up.
No, it was in the late 90s, I think.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was when Paramount. It's when Paramount Comics were at Marvel.
Oh.
It's when it brings back bad memories for me because that's when I got fired. I was not allowed to draw Star Trek books when they went to Marvel.
Oh.
They banned every one of us who had drawn any Star Trek books before from working at Marvel on the Star Trek books.
Oh, that's not good.
It was just an edict that none of us could work on them. The writers it's the same way with the writers.
Ouch.
So
they just wanted fresh talent, or is that the
I
thing?
don't know what was going on there. I don't know why they did that, but apparently somebody somewhere along the way pissed them off at Paramount. I don't know. I really don't.
Swamp Thing, Captain Planet.
Couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't.
But anyway, But they actually did a crossover of X-Men and original Star Trek. Well, actually, both the Next Generation too. They did both.
Wow.
And
I had to look it up.
That really makes
not up here.
sense.
I've never heard of
it. But Brent, did you have something before we?
Sorry.
I don't know good answer. I don't. Team ups are, when they work great, they're great. But if they don't, it's because someone wanted some cash. And I don't they don't do that now as much as they used to.
Popped in.
Yeah. We covered a lot of that. We said all of a sudden, all these suits who never read comics before in their lives now know exactly what to do with the characters. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah.
I mean, the thing about a good team up is, like, when I think of the best team ups, I think of like Wolverine and Spider-Man.
I love it.
Why are they such a good team up? Well, because they have a vibe. Spider-Man is the fresh-faced, innocent.
Isn't that how he was introduced?
This world sucks, and I've killed half the people in it, and so suddenly they have something to talk about. I think about Captain America and Wolverine for the same reason. When you think about, like, Deadpool and Spider-Man have had team-ups recently, and those kind of worked because they had something to talk about. Spider-Man is the wisecracker. Deadpool is like the wisecracker on crack.
Steroids, yeah.
Yeah. And so
Steroids and
try to
crack.
outdo each other. Like, so if I were to just pick two random heroes, I'd have to find a reason for them to be together for it to even be worth looking at. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Is this canon or fanon? But I seem to recall, and it could be fanon, Logan serving as a soldier in the army alongside of Steve Rogers, and they didn't actually really meet, but Logan.
Yes, that I understand that's the case. Yes.
Is that canon? Yeah. Where they were?
Yeah, as far as I know,
he actually saw Captain America.
It could be. It could easily be. Yeah.
There's
an issue of the X-Men way back when I think Logan met Cap when he first became Captain America.
Yes.
So talking him through. Like if you Google X-Men covers Captain America, Wolverine, I think like Black Widow is on there too or something.
Because I mean he's been in every war since, way back when.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine the conversation between Deadpool and Logan at the bar, right? So Deadpool's like, I've killed 7,341 people, and Wolverine just amateur.
Here, let me test your regenerative skills there, Deadpool.
Yeah, I just keep seeing Deadpool popping off, and then Logan kills him, but he can't, and just gets really, really mad.
It just get worse and worse and worse.
Oh, he grew his head back. Oh.
Yeah. And then it becomes like Dead Alive, where people are trying to run, but they keep slipping on all the blood. Like, I don't know.
There's your new Sam Raimi project: Wolverine versus Deadpool. All right, just go on and on. But we have to come to a close. Sadly, the fun must end at some point, and we got to say goodnight. But next week we'll be back. And we'll have even more fun because Aaron will be here and we can verbally eviscerate him when we have to, which is always fun in a playful way.
And give him brief about why he hasn't been here lately.
Yeah. Well, of course. And as we always like to sign off the same way, and we always like to say, make mine.
Make mine.
Silverline.
Hi, my name is Sergio Cariello, and make mine Silverline.